The garage space greeted me like an open mouth. Empty, too clean, with a lighter rectangular mark where my car used to sleep. The electric gate still made the same old groan, but it sounded like a lament just for me. I walked in, dragging my suitcase, the leather of the handle burning my palm, and the house breathed a strange silence, the kind that tries to seem like peace and ends up sounding like calculation. The curtains were raised like suspicious eyebrows. My mother appeared first, wrinkled apron, lipstick on her tooth, her feet in slippers that whispered on the floor. "Honey," she said too loudly, and opened her arms without getting closer. My father kept his eyes glued to the television at a bar's volume, as if the game's announcer could also narrate our conversation. "You're here?" he asked, without an exclamation point. It was my sister who appeared last, fresh from the shower, her hair in a high bun, bracelets tinkling like good rain. "How are you, my love?" she sang, coming quickly and stopping a step away, so I had to complete the gesture. On her wrist, a new watch. On her face, the smile she wears when she has expensive news. I didn't ask about anything. My body already knew before me. I looked again at the empty space, at the old oil drawing a map on the floor, and my chest made a movement that can't be heard, only recognized. "Where's the car?" I said, and my voice didn't tremble. My mother adjusted her apron. The sound of the plastic rustled like a candy wrapper in a movie theater. "Oh, well, honey. We needed to talk to you calmly, but since you travel so much, the opportunity came up and—" My father cleared his throat. TV screamed goal. He didn't celebrate. My sister placed her hand on my arm as if taking my temperature. "Before you think badly, it was for the greater good, okay? We sold the car for me. For me to start off right. The new house, the fees, the furniture. You know how hard it is. And you're so resourceful, you take the bus, work on your laptop, you're modern." Modern was the word that bit. Modern in their mouths meant, "Figure it out yourself." A heat rose up my neck. I dodged the drama like someone dodging a broken step, slowly so as not to fall. "You sold my car," I repeated, taking care with the syllables, as if checking my own teeth with my tongue. My mother smiled the smile of conciliation, the one that asks me to be patient with a mistake that wasn't mine. "Honey, you barely used it. And a good car attracts attention, attracts trouble. You know how the police are, right?" The sentence came with the smell of bleach. Racism treated as motherly advice. My father finally took his eyes off the screen, not off me. "It was for the best for everyone," he said, as if he had decided on a menu. The living room table displayed a setup rehearsed for difficult news. Juice from a carton in a glass pitcher, aligned glasses, cornstarch cookies on a plate with a flower. On top of the runner, a brown envelope, folded in the middle. My sister pushed it towards me with fingers that didn't touch my skin. "It's all here, all correct. The dealership is trustworthy. And look." She pulled out a keychain with the dealership's logo and laughed. "A little something they left." I opened the envelope. The contract smelled of fresh ink. My name was there, twice huge, as if the letters wanted to own me. A signature too. A similar signature, almost mine, like a poorly drawn shadow. The hand that imitates always betrays itself on the F. "Who signed this?" I asked, and the silence in the room took 2 steps back. My mother's gaze fell on the cutting board. It was all in the family. My father crossed his arms, the skin of his elbows cracking. "I handled it. I'm responsible." My sister stretched her smile to her eyes, but the sparkle didn't reach them. "We just sped up the bureaucracy, you know? A small thing just so we didn't lose the chance. You'd understand." "You understand." I looked at the paper as if measuring a seam. The chassis number, the value, below market, indecent, the crooked stamp of the company registration, a pen scribble where the date should be. Next to it, a receipt held by a paperclip, with the description "private negotiation," and a deposit that never touched my account. From the hallway came the smell of disinfectant and sautéed onions. The whole house seemed to conspire for normality. My sister spoke again, her voice shining like a storefront. "I'm almost done with the move, you know? The lady from the building said the neighborhood is quieter, that the kids play in the street, that there's a good bakery. I really needed it. And you have so many opportunities. You're always traveling. For you, a car is just comfort. Comfort. I remembered the night I installed the tracker, alone, feeling my hands tremble in the dark of the garage. I remembered the day I paid the last installment, and the way my father looked away when I showed him the paid bill. I remembered the salesman offering me a simpler model that suited me more, and my polite smile that tasted of rust. I held the contract between my index finger and thumb, so the paper wouldn't touch my palm. The blue pen that drew that wasn't mine. The curve of the N was rushed. Mine isn't. I felt my heart beat like an elevator door that won't close. You sold my car, I repeated, because sometimes things only exist when you line them up. My father stood up. The TV kept screaming goal like a fire siren in a deserted building. Honey, that's what family is. Whoever can covers. And you can. My mother nodded, her eyes begging forgiveness on behalf of everyone but me. My sister bit her lip. Really, you're stronger. Hey. I needed a better start. I took my phone out of my pocket with plants growing inside my chest. The screen's light illuminated the contract. I took a picture, then another, focusing on the crooked signature. The flash blinked like a warning to no one. Outside on the street, a motorcycle taxi's horn cut through the air. I heard myself breathing. Somewhere, a faucet was dripping in time with a countdown. I put the paper back in the envelope without closing it. I looked at each of them slowly, as if learning the faces of things that would never be the same again. And with the voice I save for a time when the ground tries to disappear, I asked, without raising my tone, without asking for permission, "Who authorized this in my name?" My mother was the first to answer or try. "Honey, don't talk like that, it sounds like we deceived you. It was all to help your sister. You know how much she suffers." The sentence came with sugar, but the kind that scratches your teeth. Suffer. My sister always knew how to use that word like someone opening safes. She suffered for love, for money, for exhaustion, and every time someone handed her a check of apology. This time the check had 4 wheels, paid taxes, and a full tank. She leaned on the edge of the table, theatrical, and crossed her arms with freshly painted red nails. You know I wouldn't have the courage to ask. But Dad insisted. He said you'd understand. The father, still with the remote in his hand, grumbled. And aren't you understanding? The television now showed commercials, but he kept his gaze fixed, as if seeking refuge in anything that wasn't his daughter's eyes. The knot in my chest tightened, but the anger came polished, organized. I gave a brief nod and sat down. Then explain to me what there is to understand. My mother took a deep breath, adjusted her apron, and started walking around the kitchen. You have a job, honey. You travel, you speak English. You've always succeeded. But your sister. She needs a start, a little push. The sister added meekly. It was an investment. In the family. The word investment echoed in the air like a cold-gloved slap. I looked at the corner of the table where the envelope rested, and for a moment I thought about how love in that house had turned into accounting. Who gives more, who owes more, who pays to exist. My mother came closer and put her hand on my shoulder. You've always been strong. Don't make a scene now. I swallowed hard. Strength, in someone else's mouth, always comes as a request for silence. Mom, being strong isn't being robbed without screaming. She took a step back, surprised by the word robbed. But I didn't take it back. My sister laughed nervously. Oh, Anna, you're exaggerating. Nobody robbed you. The car was family property. I breathed slowly, studying her face. The car was in my name. And paid for with my money. She looked away, fiddling with her phone as if looking for an escape. Don't start, please. Families help each other. You'll have other cars, other chances. I only have this one. The phrases came like sharp points, an attempt to make me believe that complaining was selfishness. My parents glanced at each other, a pact of silent guilt. The wall clock showed 7:12 p.m., and the ticking seemed to hammer the countdown of my patience. I took the envelope, opened it again, and spread the pages on the table. The sound of the paper tearing the air made my mother flinch. "Who signed here?" I asked, pointing to the bottom corner. My sister shrugged. "The dispatcher handled everything. He said it was simple." My mother tried to smooth things over. "These notary things, nobody really understands them." My father finally raised his eyes. "It's done. And you should be grateful. It's for your sister to have peace. Peace for her and debt for me." The sentence came out quieter than I intended, but it was enough. The silence that followed was heavy. My sister, embarrassed, forced a smile. "You'll see, it'll all work out. When I get settled, I'll buy you another one." That's when I understood. They really believed it was a favor. That my effort, my achievements, my right, all of it could be redistributed in the name of family convenience. I stood up, collected the pages, and folded them calmly. "I want a copy of the original contract, the proof of transfer, and the name of the dealership." My mother frowned. "What for, honey? It's already resolved." "For me to resolve it for real." My sister laughed again, this time without amusement. "You're not going to make a scene, are you?" "No. I'm going to get justice." I took my phone and photographed the papers one by one, the sound of the click echoing through the room. My father grumbled. "What are you recording for?" "So I don't forget who I am." My sister watched me with the uncomfortable look of someone who realizes the game has turned a little. "Anna, you're taking this personally." "It is personal," I replied. "It was my car." I grabbed my bag and walked to the door. My mother tried to hold my arm. "Where are you going?" "To get the copies. I want to see this story straight." Outside, the warm night wind hit my face, bringing the smell of rain and distant gasoline. I took out my phone and wrote a reminder. "Check dealership, confirm sale." The sky was heavy, and the sound of thunder seemed like an answer. I paused for a moment before getting into the rideshare car I had called. I looked back at the house. Lights on, muffled voices, and the feeling that a door had closed. Not the wooden one, but the one of trust. As the car sped up, I thought of anyone who might be listening, who might have felt the same lump in their throat. "If you've ever had something taken from you by someone who claimed to love you," I murmured, staring at my reflection in the window, "stick with me. Because there are things we only learn when we decide not to accept the role they wrote for us." And for the first time since I arrived, I didn't cry. I just took a deep breath and started counting the kilometers to the truth. The dealership was in a neighborhood of wide avenues and bright storefronts. The kind of place that likes to make it seem like everything is transparent. But the truth there only shines as far as the light reaches. I walked in with a calm step, but every muscle on alert. The cars in the showroom gleamed as if waiting for applause, and the salesman at the reception smiled with the precision of someone who has learned to calculate the price of every glance. "Can I help you, ma'am?" he asked, his voice slick with automatic cordiality. "Yes, you can," I replied. "I want to know about the sale of a car in the name of Ana Luisa Silva." He looked me up and down, from my dark skin to the braids tied in a bun. The smile faded half a tone. "Are you her representative?" "I am her." I showed my ID. The hesitation lasted half a second, but it was enough to register the micro-expression, the contained shock of someone who didn't expect that name to have a face like mine. He swallowed hard and fiddled with the computer. "Ah, yes. The black model recent year. Was a great buy. The negotiation was quick. The documentation was already advanced." "Advanced how?" "Your father brought a power of attorney." "Power of attorney signed by whom?" By you, of course." I crossed my arms. "Then do me a favor. Show me that power of attorney." The man stammered something about privacy policy, and walked away to call the manager. While I waited, I observed the details. The floor so clean it reflected the ceiling, the instrumental background music, the wall of excellence in service certificates. Racism loves to hide behind frames. The manager appeared. Gray suit, deep voice, and a rehearsed smile. "I'm Roberto. What happened exactly? My car was sold without my consent. On your contract, there's a forged signature and a power of attorney that doesn't exist. I want copies of everything. He adjusted his jacket and lowered his tone, trying to sound conciliatory. Look, Ms. Anna, there's no need to get upset. I'm sure it was a misunderstanding. Your father was very clear about the urgency. Urgency for whom? Yes. He looked away at the screen, pretending to read something important. The amount was transferred to his account, as agreed. We even have the proof. And the vehicle transfer document. It's pending. Awaiting regularization of the original signature. Meaning the signature that isn't mine. The manager smiled, embarrassed. These things sometimes get resolved at home, you understand. We don't want legal complications. Neither do I. I just want what's mine. I noted his full name, the time, and took a discreet photo of the computer screen reflected in the glass of the table. On the side, a detail caught my attention. The transaction code ended in -57A, the same one that appeared on the receipt clipped to the envelope my sister gave me. I took a deep breath and let the silence work. Silence is also a tool. The manager tried to break the mood. We can offer you a special credit on the purchase of another vehicle, as a form of compensation. A smaller model, perhaps. Smaller. I repeated, feeling the bitter taste of the word. I don't need something smaller. I need respect. His face lost its color. I asked for a formal statement of the service and left before my anger got ahead of my reasoning. Outside, the sun beat on the windows like hot iron. I took out my phone and opened the car's tracker, the one I had installed myself months before, out of instinct, the same instinct that was now saving me. The blue dot was blinking on a nearby street, less than 5 minutes away. I followed the signal, my heart in slow gear but firm. The tracker indicated the parking lot of a new building, with mirrored facades. The kind of place that smells of promise and mortgage. And there, in the corner of space 12B, the car. My car. Same shine, same window tint, same discreet sticker on the bumper. For a second my breath caught. It was like seeing a piece of me locked outside. I touched the bodywork, still warm from the sun, and felt a wave of mixed anger and tenderness. Suddenly, a voice behind me. Can I help you? Turned. It was my sister's boyfriend. Designer shorts, expensive phone, an overly confident look. Ah, you found the car. Great. We were going to let you know. Yes. The dealership left it here for adjustments. Don't worry, it's all good. All good for whom? I asked and he looked away. His breathing changed quick. Look, we needed the money. And you, with that job of yours, you can buy another one easily. You shouldn't even be so mad. The sentence fell like a stone. I stared at him until he shrank. Funny. When we have something, it's a miracle. When you do, it's a right. I made sure to take pictures of the car, the space, the license plate. The sound of the click echoed through the lot. He grumbled. What's all this for? To register. Because, unlike you, I don't live on favors. I walked away without looking back. The sun now burned my face, but I felt cold inside. Cold and precise. It was no longer anger, it was focus. As I walked, I opened the tracker app and activated a function I had never tested before. Security mode. Asked for a password. I typed it in. And the car emitted a discreet beep, almost imperceptible, but enough to remind me that nothing is completely lost when you have a record. I put my phone away and thought in a low voice, as if talking to whoever was on the other side of the screen. If they ever took what was yours and still called you ungrateful for complaining, stick around. Because this story hasn't even started yet. The wind brought the smell of gasoline. And I knew. The next step would be with proof, not with tears. That night, the house was asleep, but the air seemed too awake. The streetlights shone through the gaps in the curtains and streaked the floor of my room like bars. I sat on the edge of the bed, opening the folder where I had kept every document. The contract, the photos of the car, the dealership's receipt. The pages rustled like teeth of contained anger. I picked up my phone, opened the tracker app, and saw the blue dot motionless in the same spot. That silence gave me more answers than any of my family's excuses. In the mirror's reflection, I saw my tired face, but my eyes were alert, the kind of look that's born when innocence dies of shame. I remembered everything I had heard at the dealership, the manager trying to convince me that the mistake was small, just a misunderstanding between family. And I realized, that's how racism operates within a family, not with hatred but with hierarchy. With the certainty that I should be grateful to be exploited politely. The app's notification blinked again. Security mode activated. That cold, technical phrase gave me a sense of control. I no longer had the car, but I had the truth. And the truth in the right hands is fuel. I grabbed my laptop and started creating a new folder, naming everything calmly. Original untitled a PDF, fake contract.jpg, tracker_location MP4. Dealership recording 4A. The evidence was getting organized. And order is the beginning of revenge. Around 10, I heard footsteps in the hallway. The door opened slowly. It was my sister, silent, wearing an expensive sweatshirt that I recognized. A gift from me. She leaned against the wall, her face half in shadow. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. She came in anyway, looking around as if visiting a foreign territory. "You don't understand, Anna. I needed that money. It was for my chance to change my life. And me." "Yes. Didn't I need mine?" She took a deep breath. "You have the world, I just wanted a start. Starting by lying." "Don't lie to me," she replied, her voice trembling. "You were always the favorite. The smart one, the one who made it. I was always the leftover." The word leftover hung between us like old smoke. I breathed slowly. "You've gotten used to confusing love with permission. You think everything I've achieved is collective, but only when it's to serve you." She tried to smile, a pitiful smile. "I thought you'd understand." "I understand perfectly," I replied. "You just did what you were taught. Take what's mine and say it was to protect me." The silence cut the air. The sound of the wall clock filled the space. She crossed her arms. "Are you really going to make a scene? Are you going to get the police involved?" "I won't need to make a scene. I just need proof." Her eyes widened. "You wouldn't do that to me. You did it first." She left, slamming the door, and the sound echoed through the house, waking my mother. From the kitchen came her trembling voice. "Honey, don't ruin the family." I replied without leaving the room. "I'm not the one who sold it." I lay down, but sleep wouldn't come. The memory of the forged signature hammered in my head. I remembered school, the time a teacher questioned if I had really done the work myself. "You write too well for your age, Anna." The same logic. They doubt our authorship when it's an achievement and confirm it when it's blame. I opened the tracker app one more time. The car was still there, motionless, quiet, like an accomplice waiting for an order. Clicked on route history. A red line showed the path taken since the sale. A detail caught my attention. The vehicle had passed by the street where the dealership was twice and then returned directly to my sister's new building. That wasn't a coincidence. The dealership and she were connected. I picked up the phone, dialed the dealership's number, and let it record. "Good evening, this is Ana Luisa. I'd like to confirm the name of who received the sale amount." The attendant hesitated. "Ma'am, I can't disclose information without the buyer's authorization." "That's fine," I replied. "Because that authorization, the lawyer will be asking for it." I hung up slowly, feeling my heart speed up, but not from fear, from precision. I went back to the computer and wrote the first lines of my dossier. Sale made without consent. Forged signature. Deposit in a third-party account. Digital evidence attached. I closed the document, took a deep breath, and leaned my head against the window. The sky was overcast, but a star insisted on breaking through the clouds. I remembered what my father used to say when I was a child. Those who have light don't need to run. Funny. Today he prefers the dark. I picked up my phone and started writing a message I wouldn't send. At least, not yet. Dad, tomorrow we'll talk. But this time, it won't be on your terms. I pressed save as draft and left the device on the nightstand. Before turning off the light, I looked in the mirror and whispered to myself with a calm that hurt my teeth. They sold my car. But what they don't know is that's where I bought my courage. And I slept. Not for peace but for strategy. I woke up before the sun, my body tense and my head throbbing. The silence of the house was the same as the night before. Only the weight had changed. I walked to the kitchen. The cold floor under my feet reminded me of my childhood, when I would wake up early to help my mother before school. The same sound of a pot, the same smell of coffee. But now the taste was different, bitter with mistrust. I sat at the table with my notebook open and started organizing the evidence as if preparing a ritual. Date, time, names, values. Each line was a brick in what I was building. And this time the house would be mine. My mother appeared at the door, her eyes swollen from a sleepless night. "Are you still on this, honey?" she asked. I didn't raise my head. "I am." She came closer, hesitating. "We never wanted to hurt you. It's just that your sister has always had it harder. You know how tough the world is for a woman." "For a black woman too, Mom," I interrupted. "The difference is I learned to fend for myself." She sighed, tired. "You've always been strong, Anna. And you've always confused strength with a lack of affection." The silence fell between us like dust. She looked down, fidgeting with her hands, and left slowly. I watched the coffee steam rise, dissolving what was left of my guilt. I no longer felt pity, just focus. I picked up my phone and started reviewing what I had. The photos of the contract, the car's tracking, the dealership's recording, the deposit slips. I opened the insurance app and downloaded the policy PDF. Still active in my name. I smiled to myself. They had sold the car, but they hadn't changed the insurance. I sent everything to my personal email and created a folder called Evidence, Unlawful Alienation. With each upload, I felt my heart firm up a little more. I knew the next step would be decisive. But before acting, I looked to the side and saw the old photo on the wall. The three of us, still little, in front of my father's Beetle. I remembered the day he said that, to have a car is to have a name. And now, it was my name they had sold along with it. I picked up the phone and called my sister. She answered with a voice full of sleep and impatience. "What is it now? I need you to send me the sale receipt. I want to know the exact amount they paid." "What for?" "For me to understand how much what you took from me is worth." She laughed. "Oh, Anna, you're turning this into a drama. It was less than the car was worth. The dealership gave a discount. But I promised I'd give you back a part." "How much?" "Yes. As soon as I get settled." I hung up without replying. I opened the tracker app. The blue dot was still in the same address. The car hadn't moved since the block. And suddenly an idea began to form, clear, firm, inevitable. I grabbed my laptop, opened the civil police website, and filed the police report online. Vehicle sale without owner's consent. Forged signature. Copies attached. I uploaded the documents, the photos, and finished. The protocol appeared on the screen. I took a screenshot and saved it. Right after, I went to the DMV website and requested an administrative restriction on the car. Nothing more could be transferred, sold, or insured until further notice. When the confirmation email arrived, I took a deep breath. It was as if I had taken their air, not mine. In the midst of this, a new notification. Audio message from the dealership. Played it. The manager's voice was cautious but distressed. "Ms. Anna, good morning. We received a notification about an irregularity in the sale. We need to resolve this without a scandal, please. We can make an amicable compensation." Compensation. The word made me laugh. A short, dry laugh. They called what I called justice compensation. I saved the audio and sent it to a lawyer friend from college. She replied minutes later. "Anna, the case is clear. Signature forgery, misappropriation, and dealership omission. We can file a lawsuit in 48 hours. But first, see if you can get a statement of the transfer to your father." I opened the bank app. There was the deposit, 68,000 Brazilian reals. The exact value of the car, with the description, private negotiation. And right below, a transfer of 60,000 Brazilian reals from my father's account to my sister's, made on the same day. The money had circulated like a cursed inheritance, stamped with my name. I took screenshots, sent them to the lawyer and closed the app. The sound of the click sounded like a final period. But I knew, the final period wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of the turn. I stared at the ceiling for a while, listening to the fan's wind push the morning's heat. Then I spoke to myself, but also to whoever was listening to this story on the other side, perhaps living something similar. If one day they called you ungrateful for wanting what's yours, comment below. Because their gratitude always has a price, and mine has already been paid. I took the keys to the company's spare car, the same car I used when I last traveled, and left. The sun was still rising, but inside me it was already noon. And in that instant I knew. The next time my sister saw me, it would be in front of witnesses. I arrived at the dealership before the manager. The clock showed 8:20, and the sign was still blinking, half on, half off, as if the place itself was ashamed. The security guard recognized me from the other day and pretended not to. He greeted me looking at the floor, opened the door without a word. I walked in slowly, feeling the cold air of the air conditioner and the metallic smell of new cars, that perfume of promise that deceives the senses. I sat in the waiting armchair and watched the movement. A salesman was polishing a hood, another was checking spreadsheets, and a young woman was typing on the computer behind the counter. No one yet knew that the day would end in exposure. I opened my phone and confirmed the lawyer's messages. Anna, record everything. Record conversations, keep physical documents. If you can, ask for a formal statement. Avoid arguments. Let them get lost in their own words. I put the phone away and settled in my chair. The manager appeared 20 minutes later, sweating even in the cold air. Gray suit, rehearsed smile, and a good morning that seemed to beg to be accepted. Ms. Anna, good that you came so early. We'll resolve this quickly, okay? That will depend on what you call resolving. He gestured to the office. I sat in front of the glass table. The reflection showed our hands. Mine firm, his restless, drumming on the keyboard. Look, analyzing the documents, there was indeed a small irregularity. But it wasn't bad faith, you understand. Your father assured us that you had authorized it. And the signature, well, it could have been a recognition error at the notary. Error, I repeated. So the notary, the dealership, and my family all combined the same error? The smile on his face died. No, of course not, but we can offer a partial refund since the car was resold. We don't want trouble. Partial refund. I opened my bag and took out the printed document of the insurance policy. The car is in my name, insured, tracked and blocked. And the sale has no legal validity. Do you know what that means? The manager looked away. It means you want to complicate things. No. It means I want what's mine. He cleared his throat, looked around and lowered his tone. Could you perhaps withdraw the complaint? We can reach a discreet agreement. A discreet agreement doesn't clean a crime, Roberto. It cleans a reputation, yours. The sound of his name in my mouth disarmed him. He leaned back in his chair, looking at the glass door as if hoping someone would get him out of there. Did you record our conversation yesterday? I recorded all of them. The silence that followed was an invitation. I let it last. Sometimes silence is the most elegant way to let the other person dig their own hole. When he spoke again, his voice was different, thin, submissive. Look, Ms. Anna, the vehicle was sold to a third party, but there has been no transfer yet. Technically, it's still in your name. We can reverse it, as long as you don't make this public. As long as I don't tell that a dealership sold a car with a fake document. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath. Exactly. I took the pen from the table and wrote on a blank piece of paper. I declare that the sale of vehicle X was made without the authorization of the legal owner, and that the establishment acknowledges administrative error. I pushed the paper to him. Sign. I can't sign this. Then I'll wait for the delegate to sign the police report with me. He looked at me for a few seconds, his eyes spinning like a broken clock. Finally he signed. The letters came out shaky, but they came out. I took a picture and sent it to the lawyer. The phone vibrated in seconds. Perfect. Now, file the restriction at the DMV and send a copy to the insurance company. Then go home and wait. When I got up, the manager was still trying to smile. You're firm, you know. Your father should be proud. I stared at him. He is. He just doesn't know it yet. I left the dealership and the sun hit my face like a headlight. I took a deep breath. My heart, previously racing, now beat steadily. I was no longer reacting, I was driving. I picked up my phone and opened the tracker app. The car's blue dot was blinking, motionless. But a new detail appeared. The system indicated a failed ignition attempt at 10:43 a.m., just as I was at the dealership. Someone had tried to start the car. I clicked on the history and saw the full alert. Access denied, owner blocked remotely. I felt my whole body tremble. I didn't have to chase them. They were coming to me, tripping over their own footprints. I pressed the Activate Movement Recording button. Any touch, any noise, any attempt to escape would be recorded. As I walked to the bus stop, I realized I no longer felt shame or anger. What lived in me now was method. I stopped at the corner and opened my phone's notepad. I wrote a short sentence, just so I wouldn't forget. When they think they've stolen your peace, it's only because they haven't seen what you do with it yet. I looked at the sky, partly cloudy, and let the sun pass through me anyway. The game was turning, and this time I had the steering wheel, even without being in the car. I arrived home before noon, but the atmosphere felt different, as if the air was afraid to move. The television was on at a low volume, showing some game show, but no one was watching. My mother was sewing something on the sofa, trying to look busy. My father was reading the newspaper with his head down, and my sister was in the hallway, fidgeting with her phone as if she didn't see me. The same old theater. Only now I was the only one who knew the whole script. I left my bag on the table and put the keys down slowly, as if announcing my presence. The sound echoed through the room. "Can we talk?" Yes. No one answered. I walked to the sofa and stood between them. "It's not a request." My father lowered the newspaper reluctantly. "Here comes the drama." "It's not drama. It's a fact." I took the folder from my bag and placed it on the table. The dealership signed a document acknowledging the irregular sale. The car is still in my name. And from today, all transfers made with the money that came from it will be investigated. The newspaper slipped from his hands. My mother stopped sewing. My sister looked up pale. "You did what?" she asked, her voice thin. "I put everything on paper, just like you did with my signature." The sentence hung in the air, cutting the room in half. My mother tried to intervene. "Honey, you didn't have to go that far. This is something to be resolved at home. A home where people steal isn't a home, Mom. It's a hideout." The silence that followed was heavy, as if each of them was swallowing their own guilt. My sister tried to laugh nervously. "You're not going to want to see the police showing up here because of a car, are you? This is a small thing. Small for who sold it. For who lost it, it's big enough to change everything." My father stood up slowly, his face hardened. "You're exaggerating. It was to help the family. We just wanted to give your sister a chance. You gave her one. But with my money, with my name, and with my trust. That's not a chance, it's theft with affection." He came closer, his hands trembling, but his tone still authoritarian. "Do you think it's nice to expose us? You want to see the neighbors whispering, is that it? I want to see the truth in writing, Dad. Because you got used to seeing me silent." He opened his mouth to answer, but the doorbell rang. A dry sound like a hammer blow. I went to the gate. The delivery man was holding a brown envelope with the insurance company's letterhead. I signed the receipt and opened it right there, in front of them. It read, "We confirm the administrative block of the vehicle, in the name of the owner Ana Luisa Silva. In case of an attempted transfer, the case will be forwarded to the legal department and the competent authorities." I handed the paper to my father. "Now you are officially out of the conversation. The car doesn't leave my name without a court order." My mother started to cry, that light, manipulative cry of someone trying to trade regret for forgiveness. "You're destroying our peace, honey." "No, Mum. I'm returning the part of it you took from me." My sister came closer, her gaze sharp. "And what do you gain from this?" "Pride. To show you're better than us. I gain the right not to be deceived by those who should protect me." She laughed, but her voice failed. "You always thought you were smarter, didn't you? Always thought you were the righteous one." "No. I just learned not to confuse blood with loyalty." My mother tried again, desperate. "We'll give you the money back, okay? But don't take this further. It'll end up dirtying the family's name." "Dirtying the name? You already dirted it with my pen. Now I'm just cleaning it." I let the silence do the rest. My father sat down again, defeated. My sister ran a hand through her hair and said, "You're not going to let this go cheap, are you?" I smiled faintly. "Cheap? Well, but just." I went to the hallway and came back with a cardboard box. Inside were all the original documents. Copies of the deposits, screenshots, audios, protocols. I placed it on the table, right in the center. "Everything that was done to me is now recorded. If any of you try to erase a trace, I have 10 backups. And a lawyer ready to file everything tomorrow." My father raised his hands. "What for, Anna? It's money, we work and resolve it. It's not about money. It's about respect. It's about not needing to sell anything else in my name. Not a car, not dignity." I looked at them one by one, feeling my body light, but my gaze firm. "And just to let you know, the tracker is active. Any attempt to touch that car again, I'll know." My sister snorted, nervous. "You're sick. This is paranoia." "No, it's precaution. The difference is that now you don't control the steering wheel anymore." I turned my back and went to my room. In the hallway, I still heard my mother whisper, "What have we created?" I closed the door and replied softly, just to myself, "A woman who doesn't sell herself for silence." I sat on the bed and took a deep breath. My hand was trembling a little, but my heart was at peace. The game had changed. I picked up my phone and typed in the notepad. Their love was a loan. I decided not to pay interest anymore. And before sleeping, I thought of the women who had one day heard the same phrase. It was for love, used as an excuse for injustice. I whispered with a lump that was half pain, half power. If you're also tired of being the daughter who understands everything, share this story. Because love, when it comes without respect, isn't a blessing, it's a debt. The next day, I woke up to the sound of a notification on my phone. A message from the lawyer. "Anna, the protocol was accepted. The case is now official. The dealership has already sent a preliminary response. Get ready. They're going to try for a public settlement." My heart beat slowly, like someone who understands that the calm is just the breath before the turn. I got up, took a shower and put on the simplest clothes I had, a white shirt and black pants. No armor screams louder than serenity. When I left my room, my sister was sitting on the sofa, her face swollen from crying all night. "They called me," she said. "From the dealership. They want me to go with them to sort it out." "You don't have to," I replied. "You were already part of the first half of the story. The second is all mine." I grabbed my folder and left. The sun was already burning the asphalt, and the air seemed heavier than usual. On the way, I received another message from the lawyer. "Today the manager will meet you with the dealership's legal representative. Go come." They're afraid of their reputation. I arrived at the location, a glass-walled conference room on the top floor of the dealership. The same place where, days before, they tried to convince me to accept a lie as my fate. Now, the table was set with water bottles and blue folders, but the atmosphere was different. Tense, stuffy. The manager, the dealership's lawyer, and a woman in a suit were sitting. I raised my chin and greeted the three with a simple, "Good morning." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Ms. Anna, first of all, we want to say that the company acknowledges that there was an irregular procedure, but without intent to harm. We are willing to repair the occurrence amicably." "Repair?" I repeated, crossing my hands. "You sold my car, forged a signature, received an undue amount, and you still call it an irregular procedure?" The woman next to the lawyer tried to smile. "We understand your frustration. That's why we're willing to refund the full amount and offer an additional bonus for the situation." "A bonus doesn't buy justice," I replied. "It buys silence." They glanced at each other. The manager tried to soften it. "Ms. Anna, you're an intelligent woman. This can be resolved without scandal. A scandal is selling what doesn't belong to you and thinking no one will notice. What I'm doing is making a record." I took the folder and spread the papers on the table. Copies of the policy, screenshots from the tracker, bank slips, the statement signed by the manager himself. "All of this will go to the press if you insist on hiding it." The dealership's lawyer turned pale. "There's no need for that. We can resolve this in another way." "Yes, you can," I said. "Starting by registering a public note acknowledging the error and the full refund of the amount. And I want a signed copy of the sales annulment." He watched me for a few seconds, then leaned forward. "And if we make the immediate refund, do you commit to not disclosing anything?" "No. I commit to disclosing the truth, and the refund will be part of it." The silence that followed was almost comfortable. The manager sighed and signed the documents. The sound of the pen sliding on the paper sounded like a voiceless apology. While they were printing the papers, I looked out the window and saw my car down below, gleaming in the parking lot. Even from a distance I recognized it. The same shine, the same tint, the same discreet sticker on the rear window. It seemed to be breathing, waiting for me to come back. The lawyer handed me the folder with the new documents and a refund receipt. The amount was there, every penny. "Are we done then?" he asked. "No. Done is when respect returns. And it's still on its way." I left the room without looking back. The air outside felt different, lighter, cleaner. I took a deep breath. On the sidewalk, my phone vibrated again. It was a message from the lawyer. "They've registered the refund in the system. You won, Anna." Smiled. The word "won" didn't feel like triumph, it felt like justice. A kind of silent victory, the one that doesn't need an audience. I picked up my phone and recorded a short message for my followers in the group I had been managing for months, of Black women entrepreneurs. "Today I saw the power of proof. If one day they call you crazy for wanting an explanation, keep the receipt. And if they try to erase you, share the light. The truth likes an audience." I sent the message with a simple emoji, a raised fist, and closed the app. The sun was now beating hard on the dealership's window, and the reflection showed my face like a mirror of victory. I touched the car's bodywork before getting in and whispered, "They took you from me to test me. Now you're back, but not as a symbol, as proof." I started the engine and felt the roar vibrate in my chest, firm and calm, as if the car understood. And as I drove back home, I thought in silence, but with the strength of someone speaking to thousands. If one day they take something from you saying it's for love, share this story. Because true love doesn't sell, it returns. I arrived home before dusk, the engine still vibrating in my hands. The neighborhood looked twice when I parked the car in the garage, the same car they had seen disappear weeks before. The sound of the gate rising seemed like an announcement siren, and I let it sound. For the first time I didn't want to hide anything. My mother appeared at the window, her expression indecipherable between relief and fear. My father came right behind, his face hardened. My sister took a few seconds, and when she finally appeared, her hair was down, as if she wanted to look fragile. "You brought it back?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "No. It came back on its own, guided by the truth." She bit her lip, crossed her arms, and looked at the floor. "The people from the dealership called me. They said you embarrassed them. I didn't do anything they hadn't done themselves. I just opened the curtains." I entered the house. The air was heavy with silence, the kind that precedes a storm. I placed the folder on the table, with the new documents, the receipts, and the dealership's public statement. The paper still smelled of fresh ink. It's all here. Sale annulled. Amount returned. And the 3 names, dealership, manager and salesman, are officially on the record. My father cleared his throat, not having the courage to look at me. You could have resolved this in another way. And what way would that be? Pretend it was a favor. That my name is for barter. My sister snorted. You love a spectacle. And you love an audience for your own lie. She took a step forward, her gaze sharp. Are you happy now? You humiliated everyone. Happy no. But clean. My mother tried to interrupt, nervous. Girls, please, that's enough. Let's eat something, forget about this. Forget. I repeated, laughing without humor. You sold my car, forged my signature, and called me ungrateful when I complained. And now you want me to swallow it as if it were a Christmas dinner. My father raised his voice for the first time. You're crossing the line. No, Dad. I'm just recognizing where they've always been. You're the ones who confused silence with respect. I took the envelope and pulled out the last sheet, a copy of the police report stamped with my name and the case number. I placed it on the table and slid it towards him. Here's the line. You're the ones who drew it. My sister looked at the paper and fell silent. The color of her face changed, pale with fright, red with shame. You filed a report. I did. Because I grew up hearing that a black woman has to back herself up with proof. Well, here's mine. She started to cry, that childish cry that had always been the password for absolution. But this time no one got up to hug her. Not my mother. Not my father. The whole house seemed to watch the scene with the same new awareness that was being born inside me. I went to the window, opened the curtains, and the late afternoon sun flooded the room. The light fell on the car outside, its shine reflecting on the glass and on the family photos on the wall. The irony was almost poetic. The same car that symbolized discord now illuminated the room. I don't want the money back, I said without turning my face. Nor the apology. I just want you to understand what you did. And that the next time you talk about love, you don't use my name to justify it. My mother wiped her tears with her apron slowly. We were wrong. Yes, Mom. And being wrong isn't the problem. The problem is thinking I would swallow it silently. She nodded, crestfallen. My father sat down, exhausted. My sister, still crying, tried one last argument. I just wanted a chance. And I just wanted respect. The difference is that your request came with a price, and mine didn't. I took the car keys from the table and looked at them one last time that day. Now everyone gets what they chose. I get my dignity, you get your conscience. And if you want to start over, start from scratch, without what's mine. I walked out the door without waiting for an answer. The street air was hot but breathable. Every step seemed to clear the path. When I got to the gate, I heard my mother crying louder, and my father's voice mumbling something I didn't understand. I didn't go back. I just rested my hand on the car's body and felt the warm metal under my skin. It was the only thing that truly belonged to me and that had resisted everything. I started the engine, and the sound filled the emptiness of the street. As I drove, I thought of all the women who had one day been treated as a reserve of resources, as a sacrificial option. I thought of all those who heard "you're strong" as a justification to be exploited. And I spoke aloud, as if each of them were in the passenger seat with me. If one day they took something from you and called you ungrateful for fighting back, share this story. Because strength isn't about accepting. It's about returning the blow with dignity. The traffic light turned green. Accelerated. And in the rearview mirror, I saw the reflection of the house shrinking. Small, distant, but still whole as the past should be. Seen but not inhabited. The week passed like a silent film. The city in motion, but me inside on pause. Not out of weakness but for digestion. After that, the phone rang several times. Missed calls, unanswered messages. I left them all there, piled up on the phone screen like reminders that their noise no longer deserved my haste. On Monday, the lawyer called me. Anna, the case is officially closed. No pending issues. The dealership made a public statement, and the report was archived as repaired. And the full refund. Completed. They're afraid of the repercussions. I smiled without force. Fear is good. It teaches more than regret. I closed the folder with the documents and put it in the drawer. But a strange feeling remained. Not of emptiness, of cleared ground. As if each archived proof made room for a new kind of air. On Tuesday, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside there was a photo of me next to the car, an old one from when I bought it. On the back of the photo, a handwriting I would recognize even with my eyes closed. My sister's. I owe you a new life. And I owe you an apology. I read it in silence. I didn't cry. Forgiveness, I realized, wasn't for her to ask for. It was for me to choose. And at that moment I chose to just move on. I took the car and drove aimlessly. The streets seemed different. Perhaps because for the first time I was crossing them in peace. At every open traffic light, I remembered a phrase said by someone who tried to diminish me. You're too good, you'll get used to giving in. Well, I learned to give back. At the next light, I stopped and looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. There was something different in my eyes. Not anger, not tiredness. It was lucidity. The kind of clarity that is born when you realize that justice isn't revenge. It's coherence. I went to the same neighborhood where my sister had moved. I parked on the other side of the street. There she was, leaving the building with a grocery bag. Her hair tied up and her gaze down. She saw me, hesitated, and crossed slowly. When she got to the window, I said, "Don't worry. I didn't come to collect anything. I just wanted to show you that what's mine came back." She nodded, her eyes glistening. "I saw the dealership's video. You were so firm. Firm is the minimum when they try to pull the ground from under you." She took a deep breath. "You were always better than me." "No. I just got tired of being smaller to fit in your comfort." A long silence. The kind that weighs and heals at the same time. "Are you going to hate me forever?" she asked. "No. But I don't owe you forgetfulness either." She lowered her head, and for a moment she seemed younger, almost the girl who grew up with me sharing the same pillow. The difference is that now the pillow was no longer shared. It was history. "Take care of what you've built, Anna," she said before walking away. "Take care of what you broke, Luisa," I replied. I started the car. The wheels turned slowly, without haste. Each corner seemed to return a piece of me that was hidden in some memory. At night I parked the car in the garage, in the same space where it all began. The smell of oil was still there, mixed with that of fresh rain. The streetlight's light reflected on the bodywork, and I ran my hand over the hood as if thanking an old friend. I went up and went straight to the balcony. The sky was open, and the moon seemed full enough to hold the relief I felt. I picked up my phone and opened the group Women Who Drive Their Own Story. I wrote, "Today I realized that the worst loss isn't of what is taken from us, but of who we were before reacting. If one day they call you cold for seeking justice, remember, the fire of racism is a slow burn, and the only way to put it out is with proof, not with tears." I sent it. The screen was lit for a moment, then went dark. I stared into the darkness, and saw myself reflected in the window glass. Me there, standing, owner of my own name, of my own path. I thought of all the black women whose victories had been snatched away and returned with a discount. Of all those who heard "you're strong" as a sentence and not a compliment. And I understood that perhaps this was my inheritance, to transform offense into teaching, silence into record, and pain into direction. On the radio an old song was playing, and the lyrics said something about coming home different from how you left. Smiled. That was it. I had returned. Not to their home but to myself. I picked up my phone again and wrote one more line, without an address, without a recipient, just to keep. They sold the car thinking they were diminishing me. But they forgot that a black woman, when pushed to the bottom, learns to dig a road. And there, under the shy glow of the moon, I realized the engine of my life would never again depend on anyone's permission. The next morning, the sun came through the window without asking for permission, illuminating every corner of the room as if to prove that nothing was hidden anymore. I got up without an alarm, my body light, but my mind silent, the kind of silence that doesn't hurt, that organizes. I made coffee, let the smell fill the house, and for the first time in a long time, that aroma didn't carry memories of arguments, just presence. I took the folder with the documents and, one by one, began to tear up the papers that no longer had value. The copy of the sale, the proof of deposit, the dealership's messages, all in thin strips, falling into a cardboard box. I kept only the essentials: the report, the proof of return, and the final note from the insurance company. The proofs of my new beginning, not of their mistake. While the radio played an old song, the doorbell rang. It was my mother. Her eyes were swollen and she held a bouquet of flowers, white chrysanthemums, the same ones she put on the grave on Remembrance Days. "To start over," she said, and the gesture was simple, beautiful, honest. I let her in. We were silent for a while, just the sound of the clock marking the rhythm of forgiveness. She looked around, saw the car through the window and murmured, "When you left home that day, I thought I'd never see that car or you again. Sometimes you have to disappear to be seen, Mom." She nodded, her eyes glistening. "You were always the strongest. And that's not a compliment, Mom. It's a consequence." She took a deep breath. "I know. And I'm sorry." I just rested my hand on hers. "This time I believe you." We talked little, but it was enough. When she left, the house was full of new air, as if the walls had also let go of what they were holding. I picked up my phone and opened the Women Who Drive Their Own Story Group app. The messages had multiplied since the night before, dozens of women telling similar stories. Inheritances taken, documents signed by third parties, jobs sabotaged in the name of love. Each one a different version of the same plot. I wrote a new message. It's not about the car. It's about what it represented. Independence. When they try to take what you've achieved, what they really want is to see you asking for permission to exist. But we don't ask. We prove. I sent it, and in seconds reactions, hearts, comments came in. A woman from Salvador replied, "You said everything I could never say to my mother." Another from Rio, "Thanks for reminding me that I'm not crazy, just tired." I read each message slowly, feeling the weight and power of each word. It was as if my story had become a shelter. And suddenly, I realized that this was the true inheritance I had received, that of paving the way. In the afternoon, I received an unexpected call. It was the dealership manager. His voice, once arrogant, was now meek. "Ms. Anna, we are launching a training program on ethics and diversity. Your case was mentioned. We wanted to invite you to give a lecture." I smiled with irony. "Interesting. You turned my trauma into a curriculum." "It's not that, Ms. Anna. It's recognition." "Then recognize. It wasn't kindness, it was justice." I hung up without anger. It was just life trying to follow the flow that I myself had pushed. I went out to drive aimlessly. The streets were crowded, but I felt alone in the best sense. Whole, complete. At each corner, the world seemed to give me back a part that I didn't even remember I had lost. I stopped at a traffic light and looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Calm eyes, loose hair, a face free of tension. The car next to me honked. An impatient driver, wanting to pass, smiled. The horn no longer threw me off. I had learned the difference between movement and haste. As the light turned green, I thought about what I had lived through. The betrayal, the fear, the anger, the turnaround. And I realized that my story wasn't an exception. It was a mirror. A reminder that what they try to snatch from a black woman is never just material. Its voice, its authorship, it's the right to say, "This is mine." I started the car and let the wind come in through the windows. The sound of the engine sounded like an old song, the exact melody of my comeback. When I got home, I wrote in my notebook. They thought they sold a car. What they really tried to sell was my absence. But I came back. And this time, no one else drives for me. I closed the notebook, put the bouquet of flowers on the table, and let the sun set without hurry. The orange light invaded the room and painted everything gold, the exact color of reparation. Dusk arrived like a warm relief, and the house breathed with me. The car, parked in the garage, seemed like another extension of my body, no longer a material possession, but a symbol of the path I had paved myself, living proof that no forged signature erases the name of someone who has learned to write their own story. I went to the balcony with a cup of tea in my hands. The sky was the color of copper, and the clouds seemed to move slowly, in no hurry to erase the day. I picked up my phone, opened the camera, and took a simple photo. The car, the golden light, and me reflected in the window glass. No forced smiles, just a serene record, the kind of image that speaks in silence. As I looked at the photo, I realized I no longer needed to prove anything to anyone. What once hurt now fit within me naturally. What was left for me was to turn victory into an echo. I picked up the notebook where I had jotted down every detail since the first day. The values, the names, the dates, the feelings. On each page, there was a scar written with calm. At the end, I left one last sentence. Kindness isn't weakness. It's the quietest kind of strength, the one that doesn't need to scream to be remembered. I closed the notebook and felt the light weight of what had finally come to a close. The sound of the neighbor's gate in the distance made me smile. Simple, everyday, real. For the first time in months, everything ordinary seemed extraordinary. I picked up my phone and recorded one last audio for the women who drive their own story group. Today I understood that what is taken from us is never final. When a black woman recovers what is hers, a car, a house, a voice, she doesn't go back to the starting point. She comes back bigger. If you're listening to this and you still feel the weight of having been deceived, betrayed, diminished, know this: they only underestimate what they don't know. And what they don't know is the calm of a woman who prepares in silence. Share this story. Maybe someone needs to remember that justice also has a face, and ours is beautiful. I sent the audio and let the silence fill the space. On the other side of the screen, the reactions started to appear. Hearts, raised hands, phrases of gratitude. I closed my eyes and let the sound of the notifications mix with the distant song of a bird. Outside, the wind moved the leaves of the tree that had been growing in the backyard since my childhood. The same leaves my father used to say provided too much shade. I smiled at the memory. Well, Dad, I thought, shade is also a form of protection. I went inside, turned off the lights, and looked at the car one last time before sleeping. The reflection of the streetlight made the paint shine, as if it were watching me back. Thanks for coming home, I murmured. And as I went up the stairs, I felt that this house, my life, was finally in order. Before lying down, I left my phone on the table and whispered to myself, as if sealing a pact. They tried to reduce me to what I lost. But I am what I recovered. I smiled, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath, feeling the weight of victory fit in my chest. If this story touched you, if you've ever had to pick up your own pieces and drive back to yourself, subscribe here. Because there are more women learning day after day that the road to dignity is long, but it's ours. And before sleep took me, a certainty lit up inside me, clear and definitive. This time no one else holds the wheel.